Hey guys, what's up? This is B coming to you from G&A today. So I want to talk a little bit more about my H&R Excell Auto 12 gauge semi-auto that I picked up. Again, this is the second gen because it has this smooth going from the receiver to the buttstock. The first gen has what they call the humpback. The only reason really I have this gun is for doing bird hunting. And there's another guy who has a couple videos on YouTube who is using his H&R Excell to do 3-gun match. And I'm going to link to his videos because his is good stuff about that. But one thing that he did on his is he ordered this thing from Redneck Tactical. And I'll see if I can find that and put a link in the description. But it's just a piece that basically goes up underneath the handguard. And it's just a piece of metal that comes out here that makes it easier to hit this button right here. And then he also got an AK charging handle and put it on here where it makes this stick out further where he can charge that a little bit easier, because that's not a real big charging handle to grab onto there. Although I mean it's sufficient if you're not in a 3-gun match where you're trying to shave off tenths of a second or anything like that. Alright, so of course we're empty here. So to break this thing down, of course you just screw off this cap, and if you bought this you'll know that because it comes broken down. This thing is Alright, so you screw that off, then the handguard pulls right off, and then from there your barrel pulls right out. Okay, it's very easy to break this thing down, and mine is the second gen, so it comes with the Remington barrel, which has Remington choke. Although you can get the first gen barrels, they'll fit perfectly on a second gen gun. It's just that those use different chokes. Those are Verona barrels and they use Verona chokes. But the barrels from first gen, barrels from second gen are interchangeable between the first gen and second gen actual shotgun. Alright, and this is a gas system, and here's the little O-ring. And with this little O-ring right here, you can just get on eBay and just search on eBay H&R Excell. And I mean, I just tried it, and from a guy who commented on one of my other videos. But this is what will show up as these O-rings. But this O-ring is also the same thing as a Remington 1100. So if you can find O-rings for that, these are all interchangeable. Those all work. Alright, now this piece right here is what allows you to choose between light loads, like bird loads, like what I've been using, like this 7.5 shot. Okay, and then this other one is the heavy. Magnum or heavy shot, and so whichever one you want it to be set to, you want that to be facing the direction that the shotgun is facing, that the muzzle is pointed at. So on this one I wanted the light, so it's pointing that way. But if you're going to be shooting heavy loads, for instance hunting geese or something like that, you'll want to have your heavy pointed that direction. To get to the spring in here and to be able to put in the magazine limiter, or if you're wanting to get in here to be able to put on a magazine extension, you have to take this black piece out right here. And this thing was a booger to get out. So what you have to do is you have to push in this little tab right here. But when you push that, it doesn't feel like it's giving it all. But there is a little slot on either side of this little plastic cap. And there's just, I mean, it's probably a millimeter, maybe 2 millimeters, that little gap right there that gives a little bit of play in that, but it's not much. And whenever I was taking it apart for the first time, I didn't know if there was a slot in that at all. Because whenever I tried to push on that, I couldn't tell that it was giving whatsoever. Well, there is, and so I ended up boogering this up, nearly completely destroying the top of this. And I don't know if I'll be able to find a replacement for that. But I'll show you how to take this off. And really what you need for this is to find as wide of a flat blade screwdriver as you can to fit right down inside of there. Because I had one that was fairly wide, but still, even with as wide as it was, it still boogered this up inside of here. So first thing you want to do is just take a flat blade and just push down on this. And like I said, there is a little slot in there, so there is a tiny little bit of give. But you just want to push that down. And really what you need to do is, as you're pushing this down, you need to have something up here kind of spinning this like this to get this thing to disengage from that slot. And it is not easy. I'm going to try to do it on camera here, but I don't know how successful this will be. There we go. See, I don't know if you can tell, but that tiny little nub on this black plastic piece has pushed just barely out of that slot now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this flat blade and just take it in here. So what I'm going to do now is take this flat blade and just push it in here and just twist that where it's bringing that nub out of that slot. And then at the same time just kind of pulling up on this, because there is a spring pushing that thing up. And then it finally comes out. And of course, whenever you take this out, the spring, whoop, just like that. That spring's underneath there. It's wanting to push up, so make sure you grab on that. And there's my magazine limiter right there. And then, of course, the spring's going to come out from there. So there's that little cap. There's that little nub that fits in the slot that you've got to get out. And you can see there is a gap right here. And yeah, it probably is 2 millimeters on either side. So whenever this is down in that tube, you're pushing this, you do have a tiny little bit of give there. But this piece of plastic is very, very hard. It barely gives any at all. So that's it. Like I said, mine was very difficult, and I didn't know if I was tearing it up, and well, I guess I was, because this definitely looked different before I boogered all that up. Alright, so put the spring in there. And like I said, the only reason I have mine is for bird hunting, so I don't have any reason to not have this in there. There it goes. Finally caught back up in there. Alright. Drop the gas selector on there. Put the O-ring on. And then slide the barrel on, very easy. And then whenever you put this back together, make sure that this handguard comes around the receiver right here, because sometimes it's easy to have a little bit of slack right there, but make sure that's pushed all the way up in right there. And then when you tighten this down, it is going to make clicks. Because what's happening is there's kind of a shark tooth shape on the cap, and there's a shark tooth shape on that little plastic plug that we just took out. But it is springing, so as you're screwing this down, what's happening is those shark teeth are basically engaging, and it's just pushing that thing down each time those teeth rub up against each other. I was worried at first whenever I was screwing this on that I was messing something up, because I heard that click, 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 and usually whenever you're turning something and you start hearing click, 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 you stop. Well, on this, it's okay. That it's supposed to be doing that. There's this little button right here, right below the loading gate. And when you push that, this is going to lock up, and that keeps that. And that'll hold the bolt back. And I'm down here in the basement by myself, and I'm pointing towards a door that's going out into a kind of another little room in the basement. So being fairly safe here. And we are unsafe. Okay, I wouldn't recommend doing this, but I'm just going to show you what happens. So you lock this, you load your shell in there. Then you push that, and it puts that in the chamber. And then we take these other two, drop them in there, and then since I have the magazine limiter, that's all that will be able to fit in there. And then I take that off safe, and we're ready to go. And it will, as quick as I can pull that trigger, it'll drop those other two shells in there, be ready to go. Now, one other thing that I want to say about this is when you load these in here, you got to make sure that you get these pushed far enough. Because if you push it to right there, and even to the point where it lets the loading gate come all the way down, that's not good enough. Because if I go to try to load this, it'll shoot that out the bottom. You have to make sure. And yep, kind of got a mess there. There we go. So when you're loading that, make sure that you get that thing pushed all the way up in there to where it's flush with this right here. If it's not pushed far enough to be flush right there, it's going to jam up on you. And there's nothing wrong with firearm, that's just the way it works. So you got to make sure that you get that thing pushed all the way up in there. Okay, I shot, I don't know, somewhere between 250 and 300 rounds through this shotgun, and it did not give me one failure. The only time I had a failure is whenever I failed to push the shell far enough up into the magazine tube. And that was my fault. That was user error. But as far as ammo goes, as far as the shotgun is concerned, I had 0 failures. And I was not using high dollar rounds at all. In fact, very, very cheap. And this is just some of the stuff that I shot. Some of this Federal 1 1/8, 7.5 shot. This was 1,200 feet per second. I shot some of this, which I think is the same stuff, just in a newer box. Yeah, I think so. I shot some Remington, and I don't have a box for that. And I shot some Suprema, which is this, the 8 shot. Most of it, I tried to get around 1,200 feet per second. Some of it was 1,250. I think the Suprema was 1,250. That's a 20 gauge box right there, but I think all of it was around 1,200. I tried to make sure to get up around that mark. But even shooting this cheap, I mean, this is cheap stuff. This whole box of Federal cost me $19 of 100 shot shells. That was the same price. The Suprema was a little bit more, but not much. Maybe 50 cents a box more, or $1 more a box. So nothing expensive, and I didn't have one failure. Now that's not to say that it won't happen eventually or whatever, not start having a bunch of problems, but in the first 250, 300 that I've shot through this, I did not have one single hiccup. So I'm happy with it. I mean, it's a cheap shotgun, and there may be people who hate this shotgun, but from my experience, I'm happy with it. That thing rocks. It did awesome for me. So the only shooting that I've done with this has been on the dove hunting that I did. And so I've got a little bit of video of me shooting, and I'm just going to clip it just where you just see me shooting. And some of them are okay shots, video shots of me shooting. Some of them are not, but that's what I'm going to do, is just show you in the rest of this video of me shooting H&R Excell Auto 12 gauge. I love it. Sweet gun. 2 thumbs up on that thing. Thanks for watching today.
Dang it, I hit that sucker.
Yeah, he's going down. Oh, here we go.
I guess he broke straight out.
Oh, okay.
So.
You got wings.
Round.
Something like that comes, you can, that's yours. It's yours until it goes back in there.
I'm getting more of it.
Those sparrows.
There you go.